Hey, I thought I'd make a short video today on just some of the variegated ones that I got from the natto seeds. There were about 40 variegated seedlings. I gave quite a few away because they looked pretty common at the time. Probably was a mistake because the first leaves are not always what the true nature of the plant is. But here's a couple of nice ones to start off with. Flowers are nothing special, but if you look, the original leaves had very little variegation on them. But the newer growth, this one's been in natural light for a couple of months, but I'm not sure what this light is going to show up. But the new leaves are pretty nice. So it makes a nice little plant. Okay. So here's one. First leaves had almost no variegation. The new leaves have a lot of pink in them. Oops. And a really nice hot pink flower. So, anyway, this one's kind of nice. Of course, they all need grooming. Okay. Here's one that hasn't bloomed yet. Let's help the plant. It's got its first buds coming out. I don't know if you can see them up under there. But anyway, here's one. Here's one that did bloom. Cute little flowers, but not terribly interesting. Okay. Here's one. This was actually the third one that I potted up from the variegated. Actually, it was a miniature, but it is variegated. There's really fuzzy leaves. Oh, blooms like that. Lopsided because it was up against the wall. So here are three that must have come from the same seed pod because they're almost identical. Makes a nice plant even without flowers. Nice stiff little leaves. Grows well. It's one of them. Two of them. Third one. Very much alike. In fact, they're number 41, 44, and 42 from the that I potted up from the variegated seeds. So they were in the same batch, the same size when I potted them. Here's one that has a problem. It's needs to be repotted to recover. See, most of these have the Tommy Lou variegation, which is the variegation on the edge of the leaves. Okay. Here was another one that had a couple flowers. Needs work also. Here's one that something went terribly wrong with when it was little. The center just about died out. Has these big round leaves. I think it would make a nice big plant. It's got its first buds coming. It really suffered for a while. It's kind of trying to recover. But it's got some pink in the leaves. So I need to work on that one, see, try to rejuvenate it. Here's a couple. This one, a lot of these plants, they were potted up a year ago or during last year, and they pushed themselves up. They pushed themselves up, and it's really hard to water them because the soil doesn't go all the way to the bottom anymore. So anyway, they need to be repotted. This one had flowers. I don't remember what they were, but these work. Same thing with this one. A lot of these variegated ones suckered like crazy. So they've made all of these little plantlets. All of that needs to be pulled apart and divided and figure out what to do with them. Okay. See, this is one that's barely variegated, but it's got all this mess. So it needs to be torn loose and divided and whatever. Okay, let's see. Now this one is special because its early leaves were just plain green. And then it made this terrible mess down in here. I don't know what all these are. It's a bunch of suckers maybe. It's, but I noticed the sucker on this side has really pink leaves. And a good pattern of variegation. So I need to divide that one up and see what I can do. But originally, it had next to nothing on these leaves. So I think you can't always tell when they're babies what they're going to be. And this was my favorite. It's kind of been suffering too, but it's has a good variegation pattern. Makes a pink flower. Most of them made either pink or purple flowers. I guess they're mostly selected for the variegation and not for the, looks okay. But this one has 2 crowns. I guess it needs to be split in half and also rejuvenated. Okay, last 2. These 2 apparently are mosaics. See the color on this one? Oops. It's kind of wobbly. And lost some bottom leaves, but it looks like it's starting to do well now. But these are, for the very end, very slow growers. It could be because they're mosaics. I don't know. And this one, extremely strange when it was a baby. Now it's got all this color. It's got, like, see, here's a really dark spot. And then, oh, where was that? Here it's got some really light sections of leaves. It's trying to grow out of all this twisted stuff. But it's an interesting one to watch. Okay, that's it. Just wanted to make a short video on those. Thanks for watching. Whoops.